I'm here actually. Hey guys. Hey guys, the new batch of Our Flag Means Death episode dropped, and I'm just starting to worry a little bit. New episodes come around 9 a.m. for me, so I was really excited the entire day. I couldn't wait until I get home from school because I wanted to watch them so bad. So, as usual, I went on call with my friend Vic. We watched the episodes, and oh boy, I was actually emotionally destroyed by that. Jesus. But not in the fun way. Like, I didn't like it. In this video, we'll discuss these two episodes differently than we did last time, because some of the plots stretch through both of the episodes, and it just wouldn't make sense to talk about some of the topics twice. So I'm just going to section this video by the topics we'll talk about. The script has 4,000 words. All this, and there's more. There's more. So I'm going to make this intro as short as possible. If you haven't seen my previous Our Flag Means Death video, then I definitely recommend watching that before this one. Today I will continue some of the discussions that I started in the previous episode, so it would be for the best if you've seen that one too. Big thanks to Vic for once again helping me with some of the points. Thank you, Vic. Love you. Thank you so much for watching. And let's get into this. Hello. Okay, I'm going to actually get this off. Izzy drinks heavily because he's miserable. He didn't have a reason to be alive before he shot himself in the head, and he definitely doesn't have it now that the crew is safe and Blackbeard is gone. So he spends most of the time with the unicorn, and he has some weird beef with it for some reason. To be honest, I didn't really understand it at first. I had to talk about it with my friend. Season 1 started with the unicorn being in one piece, and I believe the unicorn kind of represented the silliness and absurdness of Stede Bonnet. Like, this strange little man went out to sea to become a pirate, only to be kind and polite to everyone. Usually on pirate ships there are these women at the front, not really fucking horses. Like, that's absurd. And that's why its head was blown off in episode 8. Because that was inherently the end of the good times on the revenge arc. The army came, took Ed and Stede, and with them also the warmth and happiness and comfort that was on the ship because of these two. The crew was left with Izzy, the man that hated Stede Bonnet's ideals and did everything to go against them. I think drunken Izzy saw himself as this dumb unicorn. Its head was in shambles, and so was his. Izzy's mental state is absolutely terrible, but as he said,
at least he's still got both legs!
And after his breakdown, the crew comes together and makes him a new leg. And then by that, he becomes the new unicorn. All the warmth that disappeared after the unicorn head was blown off is slowly coming back. I also think it's pretty important to note that unicorns can symbolize healing. So yeah, that's pretty nice. The way that the unicorn inherently led them by being at the front of the ship, Izzy can lead them now. He can show them the way. Because this season, it gets shown again and again that Izzy genuinely cares about the crew now. Not only does he come back from dead to stop Blackbeard from killing them, he also helps Stede with the entire code situation so that the crew can stop feeling so distressed. He also talks to Lucius about moving on and healing, even though he doesn't really want to talk about healing because my man has issues. Izzy is really good with the crew, and I found that really interesting because why would they make Izzy co-parent with Stede and explain all the captain stuff to him and not Ed, if we ignore the fact that everyone hates Ed now, so that probably wouldn't be the best idea. And then I kind of realized that of course Ed can't explain the captain stuff to him. Of course it has to be Izzy. Because Ed never really understood what it meant to be a captain. Like Izzy said, he kind of just fucked around the entire time, and Izzy had to be the one to fix all of his problems.
For years I've followed your every whim. I've managed your increasingly erratic moods. I've massaged this crew when they were worried about your judgment.
Sounds stressful, Izzy.
So it makes complete sense that the only input that Ed was able to give to Stede on how to be a better captain is be more assertive and make them feel like you're the captain, while Izzy actually gives him good advice. Important stuff, like if the crew believes it, then it's real. Your number one priority is making the crew happy. Because yeah, Ed never did that. Izzy did. Izzy did this all his life. He knows how to calm the crew down. He knows how piracy works. So I'm really glad that they actually went this road, and that Izzy can be the sort of mentor to Stede. Their newfound friendship is really sweet. The last thing about Izzy that I wanted to talk about is his current relationship with Ed. And this one is really complicated. Izzy hates Ed so much that he's trying to repress it, because he still seeks his validation. and he still can't really stop loving him. We can see it in this scene where Con O'Neill casually flashes his tits, and Steed mentions that Ed told him that Izzy told him everything.
But Blackbeard did say he credited you with a lot of his skills.
Yeah, well, Blackbeard says a lot of things. But what did he say about me specifically?
And Izzy is desperate to know what Ed thinks about him. No matter how much pain Ed has put him through, he can't help himself. And this is why he changes the circumstances of the incident in his head. He has so much anger, so he internalized it so that he can move on. Izzy feels conflicted about Ed and doesn't know how to cope with it, so he makes up the shark story. It's so fucking tragic. He actually became my comfort character. He's the best Britain character this season. I kept wondering the entire episode what he's carving, and that fucking shark is so adorable. Like, Lucius is so me, I love that. I also love that little interaction that they had. That was absolutely adorable.
Please take the blanket off.
Fuck off, go away.
This is the first time that they've actually talked in a long time. They had barely any interactions before this, and Ed has just learned that not only did Steed leave him, he left him for Mary. So this obviously upsets him. Every time Ed gets emotional, he hides in this very childish way. I think it's a trauma response because of his upbringing. Anyways, as I said, this is the first time that they've actually talked, and it goes down pretty fucking smoothly, for some reason. Ed just spent the past 3 months hating Steed every day. If you hate someone this fucking much and you don't see them for 3 months, you'll kind of water them down in your head. Because you won't actually remember what the person was like, because you'll only remember the bad things about them. So it just doesn't make sense that after these 3 months, Ed would be so casual with Steed. Yes, he did love him. He coped with his sadness by being angry. He shot Izzy because he mentioned him. He wouldn't even be able to look him in the eyes. For Mr. bottling up my emotions and not talking about anything properly, this is quite a jump. Another thing that is pretty weird is that Steed doesn't tell him the actual reason why he left him. He didn't leave him for Mary. He didn't panic because they were going too fast. He was dragged out of bed by badminton, threatened to be shot, while being screamed at how unlovable he is and how he ruins everything he loves. Obviously he would panic. Steed has had issues with his self-worth his entire life, so of course he would think that Ed would be better off without him. And I think Ed would genuinely understand if he had told him this. The same way he understood when Steed told him that he panicked. But I don't know why he just wouldn't mention badminton at all. Someone could argue that he was irrelevant to the situation, but I don't think so. Why didn't he tell him that? Plot reasons? I don't know. I'm not saying that they're not win prone, or that they weren't going too fast. Yeah, they fucking knew each other for 4 weeks, maybe even less than that, I don't know. So it's definitely good that they have some time now to actually develop their relationship. But yeah, I like the things that Steve told him, and the implied fact that Ed fumbles immediately when he sees him. And I also love how Taika Waititi looks here. He's so silly. I think these two were put in the story to parallel Ed and Steed in some way, but I don't really know how. So what happened with these two is that they stopped being pirates because Anne Bonny wanted to collect antique stuff, but also was scared of being too old for pirating. But when they were on land, they started getting bored to the point where they started hurting each other to feel something, but in the end they realized the most important thing is their love. So Anne Bonny burned their house down so that they can go be pirates again. What did that mean? The only thing that I came up with is that they should be sort of a lesson for Steed and Ed. Other pirates have more fucked up relationship than you two. This is why you need to communicate and tell each other stuff so that you don't end up like them. Maybe Ed and Steed would actually end up like them if they went to China. Ed wanted to retire and Steed wanted to be on sea, and they also had violent tendencies, so who knows? I absolutely love them though, they were great characters, so I sure hope we'll see them again. I was actually wrong about these two. I think. I still don't know what they're doing with them. Some of you pointed out in my last video that the best friend thing didn't really have to mean a friend zone, you know. Friendship is really important in relationships. Maybe Jim just meant it as in you're my best friend and also my partner. So this is why you should know that I kissed Archie. And I get all that, I completely do. I just felt like the vibes were off and they didn't really talk in the episode, so I was really confused. But now the ship is back on sea and sailing like never before. I think. And it actually looks like they're in an open relationship right now. Oluwande calls Jim babe in the crew fighting scene, so I think they're still dating.
Yeah, babe.
But Archie is always near them in scenes and also joins them on the bed when they're hiding from Steed. So I think they may be a trio now. Also, this is Olu's and Jim's room, so maybe Archie actually moved in. So yeah, I think they're a trio now. I don't know what that means for their relationship, but I would really enjoy them as a polycule, so I don't care. Good for them. I just find it really weird how little interactions they have this season, because compared to season 1, they barely have any interactions. I find that really weird, but I'm sure we'll see more of them in the next episode, so I'm looking forward to that.
A doggy with Blackbeard's face on it?
I love Lucius and I love Pete, and I really like Lucius and Pete, so I really wanted them to be happy. But as I said in my previous video, Lucius is the only one that isn't really a pirate, or, you know, wasn't. So while everyone on board just kind of accepts that Blackbeard is going to sail with them and understands that this is what captains just do and tries to move on, Lucius wants closure. After he pushes him into the water, he quickly realizes that this actually won't help him because he's still hurt, and he will be hurt, and he will be angry because he won't let go of the anger. He still hates him. This didn't do anything. And after Izzy talks to him about moving on, he decides that he needs to move on, not only for his sake, but for the sake of people around him. And I don't think I really like that message. When you're stuck on board with your abuser and that makes you feel bad, are you a bad person for not moving on like everyone else did? Is it your fault that you can't really do that? Why is he painted as the wrong person in this situation when he just pointed to the fact that they're all just quietly accepting the fact that Blackbeard is going to be there with them, their abuser? I don't know if I'm missing something or just looking at it wrong, but I think Lucius has the right to feel this way. I don't know why this episode kind of points at him and makes fun of him for being the dumb and dramatic one, when I think he had good reasons to feel this way. Hi, future me talking. I just want to say that I do understand that the message here is that sometimes you have to move on and let go of the anger to heal, but I also think it's valid if you're not able to do that like everyone else. Lucius's mistake was neglecting Pete while being stuck in the past, but I also do understand that healing is hard for him when he sees Blackbeard not being held accountable for his actions. That's it, bye bye. I hope this will get acknowledged later in this season. I actually didn't know how much I needed this friendship between Lucius and Izzy, so I really like that. I really need more of that. Apparently Lucius and Pete are engaged now. Happy wedding or something. I don't know what you're supposed to say to people. Anyways, I just wish them luck. I don't want them to suffer again. They went through a lot.
Oh, I was screaming.
So Ed and Fang go fishing this episode, and I find that really cute. I also really like the cannonball that Ed did here. That kind of starts the Ed problem. We'll talk about that later. Fang tells Blackbeard that he isn't angry at him anymore because they're even. Everyone can see that they're not really even because Ed caused Fang psychological trauma that will affect him for the rest of his life. Well, Fang just, punched him a few times when he was unconscious, so he doesn't really remember that, and he can also walk. He's doing pretty good, so yeah. But I think this is the beginning of Ed's redemption. This is the first time that Ed talks to his crew member in a deeper way and actually sees what he did wrong. Here he sees Fang as a person and not as a pirate. And this is very important because Ed kind of dehumanized his crew in his head. We can see this even in season 1, where Izzy tells Ed that they lost multiple men because of the fight with the Spanish.
Losing several of our men, by the way.
Kind of the job, they're pirates.
He doesn't care about his crew dying. So now that he sees Fang not as a lower member of the ship, but as a person, as a friend, he can finally start understanding what he's doing wrong. Baby steps. Baby steps are okay. Until the baby has to run a marathon because it only has 3 episodes left and it only just started redemption arc in episode 5. So the metaphorical baby should hurry the fuck up.
Oh, Ed, that's beautiful.
Oh boy. I think you've heard everything about this scene by now, so I'm not going to get too into it. What hasn't been said about this scene? Wow. So of course, it's a direct parallel of the moon scene from season 1, episode 5, and this is actually also the 5th episode. Makes me wonder if they also wanted to make this the mid-season romance moment, but their fucking episode amount was cut. I'm still so salty about this. Season's 1 moon scene looked like it was ripped out straight out of a romance movie. It was dark. The only thing that shined on them was was the full moon behind them. They wore fancy clothes. Only their silhouettes were visible. But now, it's messy. The moon isn't full. We can see them clearly. They're in raggedy clothes. Ed is holding a fish that most probably smells like dead fish, so remember that every time you rewatch that scene. And just in general, this scene is way less romanticized. Like the rose-colored glasses fell off. In first season when this was happening, this was one of their first romantic moments, and they barely knew each other by that point. So everything was able to be just so beautiful and perfect and romantic. But now that they've been through so much together, they don't have the rose-colored glasses on. They see each other clearly. They see their relationship clearly. The moon isn't full, but it's getting there. Just because it's not perfect right now doesn't mean it won't be eventually. And they kiss. And everything smells of dead fish, by the way. I still want you to think about the fact that there's a dead fish. And Ed actually stops Steve from going further, and he asks him to slow down. And people interpret this differently, but I personally see it that Ed did want to continue. He pretty much initiated the kiss. I think he's just too scared by the stuff that Steve told him about them being too fast and wind-prone. So he wants to go slower with the relationship so that Steve doesn't get scared and leave him again. Then they hold hands for the first time, which I actually craved. I really wanted that to happen this season. It's kind of weird that it didn't happen until now, you know. It really just reminds you how little time they spent together. And remember, the fish is still there. Still has the fish in his head. Oh my god. They play the little hand thing and go off into the sun together or whatever, who cares. I really love when shows parallel stuff from earlier seasons. It feels like a little gift for the fans that remembered all the scenes from the last seasons, and they can be like, oh, I remember that, so I really like that. But at first I found this one a bit on the nose, because I like when shit is more subtle, and this is just direct copy of the scene from the first season. If they even say the fucking same lines and all that, and I felt like they were just tryharding it a little bit, but now I completely love that scene. It grew on me the more times I watched it. Overall, great scene. Loved it.
The sea is my love.
Jesus Christ.
Buttons is really weird this season. Or I guess he was weird. He's a bird now. This is so funny actually, because when we first heard that he was becoming a bird with my friend, we thought that he was going to like die and reincarnate as a bird, and we were just so sure of that. And then the motherfucker just turned into a bird. Our flag means that logic. Sure, you know, who had that? Or our flag means that bingo. Who had that? I need to know. His transformation was there to teach Ed that change is possible. This gave Ed hope that he can be better for Steed. I also saw someone on TikTok say that just as Buttons turned into a bird after Ed said that people can change, Steed also came back. People can change, and Steed proved that by returning this time. I think a big theme for this season is to be loved is to be changed, and I really like that. Ed even looks like that fucked up Garfield. Also, I love the fact that Ed was the only one to actually see that happen, so the crew now thinks that he killed Buttons. It adds to the drama and shows how much distrust the crew now has for Ed. But there's this thing.
What was it again?
Ed is not really a good person, to say the least. I mean, he says it himself.
I'm not a good person, Steve.
But in this season, it just gets pointed out again and again. In the first 2 episodes, Blackbeard felt almost unredeemable, and in the last 2 episodes, he doesn't really feel much remorse. Except that Fang scene, but we'll get into it. And I am beginning to worry. Because I can meta-analyze it all I want, but I can't really brush this off. Season 2 is ending in 2 weeks. That's about 3 episodes and like 1 hour and 15 minutes of screen time, and I don't think they can fix Ed in this short of a time. Ed has issues. His upbringing was shit, his time as a pirate was traumatizing, and then when he became captain, he was given unlimited power and was pretty much free to do anything he wanted, which doesn't really help my man grow, you know? So obviously he isn't a good person. But what I kind of have issues with is that Ed knows this. He knows he isn't a good person, yet he's too stubborn and unable to apologize normally. The speech that he gave to the crew was only made so that he can go back to the ship, not because he feels genuine regret. And you know, this isn't a bad thing. This is what this show is about. A bunch of random people with issues stuck on sea together that eventually find comfort in each other's company and grow together as people. But this season only has 3 more episodes left and they have so much on their plate. This is probably just me overthinking it, but I don't think they can do his redemption in a satisfying way. I'm scared that it will be half-assed and that at the end of the season he still won't really be likable. He needs to realize how much he hurt everyone and face the consequences of his actions. As I said in my previous video, his heartbreak doesn't justify all the pain that he put his crew through. So far, the crew is coping with this real trauma that they have by ignoring him, by moving on, trying to suppress things. And while yes, moving on is healthy, here, not so much. My friend Vic said it perfectly, so I'm just going to read that here. Archie says they do whatever they want and then get over it. I think they're all upset. I think most of them just got over it because it's what they usually do, which isn't healthy, and I hope they address that, but their reaction to trauma is, as Izzy says, to just replace it with something else. Because someone in power decided to keep the abuser around to make him become a better person, and no one is happy with it, but they can't really say anything. And I completely agree with that. Also, if you remember, I said that their first talk went down pretty well considering the fact that Ed just spent the past 3 months hating him. It sounds like the pre-Kraken Ed is talking, and not the lunatic Ed that shot Izzy for just mentioning Steve Bonnet. This really makes you wonder, how much shit did he do because he was heartbroken and high, and how much of it was just him being back on sea and bored? Because if you remember, Blackbeard used to be a dick. He said it to Steve that he did some shitty things, like making a man eat his own finger, or the crab and turtle thing, and everything that he did around Calico Jack, because that was inherently Ed returning to his old habits. So yeah, he used to be an asshole. So maybe most of the things that he did when he was the Kraken, he just did out of habit. Don't take this as a gospel, this is just food for thoughts, but yeah. The point is, Ed can't really be redeemed right now because he doesn't really care about anyone on board except Steve. Which is terrible because, Izzy is still on there, but... He needs to actually start caring about these people so that he can care about the trauma that he caused them. And he only has 3 episodes to do that. And I also need to remind you that they still have multiple plots set up that they didn't touch on until now. Like, for example, Zheng Yisou has to return. Ricky has to return. They need to redeem Ed. They need to get them back together, which I think they'll have the least problem with considering how fast they're going again. And Bonnie's scene happened probably a day before the moon scene, which means that this scene happened the day before. It's been 3 days since they started talking after everything that happened. Jim and Oluwande's polycule needs to get figured out. Lucius proposed, so maybe there's going to be a wedding, who knows? They have to go to Spanish Jackie's, fight the army, and then they have to actually do something with Izzy and his unhealthy coping mechanisms and just his entire relationship with Ed because he can't be left like this. They have so little time and I am so worried, but I'm going to trust the writers. Everything I said is just my worries on video, my internal monologue written in Google Docs and then read out loud. I genuinely trust that the writers know what they're doing and that this actually will get fixed somehow. I don't want to be too harsh when I haven't seen the entire season yet, so I don't want you to be harsh either. So let's wait for how this ends. We'll see in 2 weeks. It just started. What do you mean it will end in 2 weeks? That just sounds actually so bad. Anyways, because I didn't section this video like last time and I still need to put the episodes in the tier list, I'm just going to do it here. For the time being, I'm putting both of these episodes in the B tier. This may actually change. They probably will go lower, I don't know, I need to actually think about this. That's it for this video. This is second part of series where I analyze all Our Flag Means Dead season 2 episodes, so if you haven't seen the previous part then definitely go check it out, it should be somewhere there, pop up. I don't fucking know. And if you want to be notified when part 3 comes out, then subscribe and press the little notification thing. If you want to hear more from me or just want to see some mediocre art, then follow me on Tumblr. You can also ask me stuff and I answer to messages. And I also have other social media, so if you want to find me on any other platform, then check them out. I love interacting with you guys and I read all of my comments, so I genuinely want to know, what do you think about this season so far? What do you think about these 2 episodes? Do you think Ed can actually get redeemed in a satisfying way? We can talk about it down there. Anyways, I'm off now. I'm going to take a walk or something. I don't know, this series will be the death of me. Have a great day, take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.
You want your Sammy?